Hey up, it's Steve from the Old Yorkshire Geek, and it's Friday, which now means it's Lord of the Rings of Power Day. We're on episode 3. I don't know if it's got a title. I never look up if they've got titles. But anyway, let's hit the intro, and we'll get on with it, eh? Right, I'm back. Right, yes, I am. Right. So this is, as I said, this is episode 3. I don't know if it's got a title. Let's have a look, shall we? I think it's called Ada, I think. Let's have a look. Rings of Power episodes. See, we're off to a good start, aren't we, already? Hey, it don't actually say there. It doesn't actually say. Right, have a look at that. Look on Wikipedia, because IMDb's no help, and Google's no help. Episodes. Episode 1 was A Shadow of the Past. Episode 2 was Adrift. And yes, episode 3 is called Ada. It's a bit confusing in this episode because we've got Ada and Ada. Ada is the name of the world that they're in, I think. You know, the whole of, not just Middle Earth. Middle Earth just part of Ada. Ada. See, I'm getting mixed up myself. And then, of course, there's Valinor and other parts of Ada. But Ada is the name of a corrupted elf who, was a servant of Morgoth. So we see him in this episode at the end. Right, so we'll get the episode up, and we, as usual, we'll go through it. There it is. There's the logo, the Amazon logo. We'll go through it, and I'll tell you what I think. I've got it. This episode, I don't think it's as good as episode 2. It's probably about on a par with episode 1. Maybe not quite as good. It's probably the weakest episode so far. I know we're only 3 episodes in, but there's only 8 episodes in the bloody first season, isn't there? But this is probably the weakest episode. And I've seen some other reviews, and they've said the scenes with Arondir have been their weakest part. But in my opinion, they were the strongest part of the episode. But anyway, right, we'll crack on. So, there's a previously on. There we see the stranger doing the fireflies. Remember, Nori has got to find out about this constellation that he wants to see, and she's going to look in Lenny Henry's book. I can't remember the name of his character. What's his character called? Lenny Henry, Sadrock or something? Or I don't know. Where are we? Lenny Henry, Sadok Burrows. I can never remember. Right, where were we? Right, so she's going to look in his book, his big book of knowledge that he's got. All right. Also, there's Vinegar Vera and him, Halbrand. Him. That's where they were stuck on the raft. But anyway. Right, so we're getting to I think we're starting the credits. It goes straight to the credits, I do believe. No, we haven't done yet, because we're seeing what happens to Arondir. Remember, he gets grabbed. No, then he goes into the credits. Remember, Arondir got grabbed. They were watching something, in some water, and then some clawed hands grabbed him and dragged him into some roots. Anyway, so then we go to the credits. I've seen a lot of people say that it would have been better, rather than saying based on Lord of the Rings and the appendices of J.R. Tolkien, it should have said inspired by. And I actually agree with that. I think they should have said that. As if I can pause on the... there we go. Can you see that? No, typical. There we go. I'll move it up a bit. Pass me fat head. There we go. It says they're based on The Lord of the Rings and appendices by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I agree with people that say it should have said inspired by, because, it is more inspired by than based on, isn't it, after all? Not that I'm an expert or anything, but as I've said before, I've only read The Hobbit, and I was a kid when I read The Hobbit. And I wasn't that keen on it, to be honest. I've got the Lord of the Rings trilogy books in a bookcase over there. Oh, pardon me. And I've tried reading them. I've opened up Fellowship of the Ring, and I've not got very far because, to be honest, I don't like Tolkien's style of writing. I find it a bit of a slog, and it's hard work. And reading's supposed to be fun, innit? Not hard work. So I've never got very far in it. But I respect it. That's the thing. I respect the work because a lot of people love it, but it's not for me. I'm not a big fan of fantasy literature. I'm more of a sci-fi and horror person. But that doesn't mean I don't respect it and respect others. Other people liking it. Right, here we go. Right, so we kick off, and we're in this place here. Lots of rough cloth stuff. And what's going on here is it's Arondir, who again steals the show, in my opinion. I think he's the best character on the show, Arondir. A lot of people don't seem to like him. Maybe, I don't know, is it the old black elf, and his hair and all that, what they call it, a fade. He's got a nice fade. I don't know anything about hairdos. I mean, that's my hairdo. So I'm no one to talk about hairdos, am I? But I don't live in a, Iron Age world. But anyway, what was I saying? I like Arondir. I think he's a good character, and he's played well by Ishmael Cruz-Cordova or whatever the hell his name is. He plays a good part. Anyway, so he's been dragged. It's like semi-conscious, so it's all like blurry. We've seen it from his point of view at times. It's all blurry because he's semi-conscious and he's being dragged by orcs. So he's being captured by orcs. Here we go, we see him. I don't know why they've got these skull helmets, some of them, because I don't think they look good. They're obviously horse heads or something, aren't they? I don't like that. They thought they'd have fashioned proper helmets for themselves. I mean, some of them do. Some of them have proper metal helmets. They thought these would have. Because you wouldn't think a skull helmet, wouldn't think that'd provide much protection, would you? But anyway, unless they're just there to scare their enemies. So we see there's lots of other people that have been captured. I think they're mostly humans. They're the people of the town that they took away. Is it Horden or something it's called? They took that town away. So they throw him to the ground. So that's a Life of Brian reference there. Here we go. There's one of these orcs talking to him and rasping at him. He mentions Adar. Yeah, I've got that right. He mentions Adar. Obviously, Arondir knows that name. So he gets chained up. You see all these chains here on the ground, and then he finds that some of his friends are there, or compatriots from the Watchtower. Don't ask me the names. I suppose I can look it up now, can't I? Pardon me. See, I could be here forever. I don't know the names. I don't know. Because I don't know the names of the actors that play them, so there could be anybody. There's a big list here on IMDb, and there could be any of them. I don't know. But anyway, he's there with them. There we go. There's one of them. That's I think he was the leader, wasn't he? The man in charge, the elf in charge of the Watchtower. Is that an elf over there? Oh, you can't see him. He looks a bit like an elf, doesn't he? Has he got pointed ears? He looks to have, doesn't he? Look a bit pointy there. So that must be another one from the Watchtower. But most of the people here are from the town, the humans from the town. We see his friend that he said smelled of wet leaves. I think it was wet leaves. He's there. So anyway, they're put to work. They've got to dig. They're digging tunnels for the orcs, so the orcs can travel around during the daytime, because obviously sunlight hurts them. It like burns them. I didn't think that was true. I thought they just didn't like the sun. I didn't think it burnt them. I thought they felt uncomfortable in it, and they didn't like travelling in sun, which is why like Sauron sent clouds ahead to blot out the sun. I didn't think it actually physically hurt them. I thought they just didn't like it. And it drained their powers. I thought that's what it did. It made them less powerful, weakened them, rather than physically hurt them. Anyway, but in this it does. They're like vampires. They're like, yeah. Anyway, so they get set to work. Then we cut to Galadriel. There's more R's, more rolled R's in this episode where you think, why are they rolling that R? But anyway, so that she wakes up and she's on this boat. Remember the last episode, they were found adrift on. Sorry, I've got a hair. They were found adrift on their raft. Somebody on the boat watched them, and so they're on the boat now, and they're off to Numenor. Or she says Numenor. I can't roll my R's because I have what's called ankylosing. My tongue, I can't roll my R's because I've got a flap of skin that holds my tongue down. Sorry, I'm a mutant. What can I say? So they're off to Numenor. But in this episode, I know a lot of people don't like Galadriel in this series, and I can see why, because she's vile in this episode. I hate this character. I hate this Galadriel. She's not the Galadriel of the films. You could say, oh well, it's 2,000 years or whatever before, or 3,000 years before the Lord of the Rings. She'd changed by then. She'd grown up, so to speak. Even though she's how she's gonna look now until she dies, because they get to a certain age. But then why is like Celebrimbor quite old looking? I don't know. Maybe they just age more slowly. But if they're immortal, they shouldn't age at all, should they? Anyway, but I digress. So in this episode, she does nothing but antagonise everybody. Everybody she comes across. She thinks this food's poisoned, but she ends up eating a couple of spoons full. Anyway, they get taken. Anyway, they're in the hold or below decks. They get taken up onto deck. There they are. That's Halbrand, played by. I've got to look because I can't remember. Where the hell is it? Played by Charlie Vickers. That was going through my head. I'd actually remembered that, but I thought I'd better check. Charlie Vickers. Obviously, she's Morfid Clark. I quite like her as an actress, just not in this. I know she's playing a part and she's doing what she's told, but I just don't like Galadriel in this. She's a horrible person. I know you could say she's got the weight of the world on her shoulders. She knows that the evil is coming, blah blah blah. But that don't mean she can go around treating people like shite, does it? And she does. That's what she does. The whole episode. So anyway, they're on this boat, a Numenor boat. So that's where they end up going. This, by the way, sorry, I'll go back again. Oh, whatever. The fellow that saves them from the sea is Elendil, I think. I think it's Elendil. Who is, a Numenorian seafarer, sea captain. And he saves them, and he gets punished for it, sort of. But anyway, because Numenorians don't like elves for some reason. We're not told why. We know that elves helped the ancestors of the Numenor to set up, on the island, the star-shaped island that they live on. That elves helped them, and elves came and went in ages past, and then suddenly this just stopped. And the people on Numenor stopped letting elves in, and I don't know why. It doesn't explain it. Maybe it will in the future. So they haven't seen an elf for a while. So here they go. So here we go. So we're going into Numenor. Oh, hang on. Let me just take the sound off. Just mute that bugger. So they go in. So it's all very lovely. Lots of carvings in the rocks and stuff. Very. Very good. There we go. There's a big statue with water coming out. There's a horse there as well somewhere. There it is. There's a horse's head and its hoof. So that's another big statue. It's all very impressive. And here we go. We're seeing the city. Don't ask me what it's called. I can't remember. But there it is. All very impressive with a big statue. Reminiscent of what we saw in Fellowship of the Ring with the two. There you go. The two statues holding their hands like that, and the big mountain in the background. Is that a volcano? I don't know. Maybe not. But we know that Numenor sinks, don't we? Much like Atlantis did. Numenor disappears. So is that going to erupt, or is it something else that's going to make it sink? I don't know. Are we going to see the destruction of Numenor in this series? Probably. So we'll see what happens. Let's keep going. So anyway, they end up. There we go. They end up on the docks, or whatever you want to call it, the wharf, the quay. Sorry, I'm being a thesaurus a bit there, wasn't I? And there's people muttering. There's Numenorians muttering. Ooh, it's an elf. Ooh, Grunner, elf, and all that. So anyway, then the march to somewhere in the city. Obviously, it's very diverse. Is Numenor? See, the people of all races live in Numenor. I'm saying nothing. It's quite a long walk, but they get there eventually. It's another very slow episode, by the way. But we do have some action in it later. Right, they're in this where the Queen Regent is. There, you can just see her there. There she is. The King apparently has been is still the King. By the way, before I continue, rest in peace, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. She passed away yesterday at the age of 96. So that's very sad. The nation and the Commonwealth, over 100 million people mourning, of her subjects mourning. That's very sad. So, rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth II, and long live the King, King Charles III. So, anyway, so get that out of the way. Should have done that at the beginning, shouldn't I? But never mind. Anyway, this is the Queen Regent. The King apparently has been is still the King, but has been locked away, basically. She's taken over. Her and this chap here, don't know his name. But anyway, they are brought before them some sort of, court, the Numenorian court. And they ask who they are, and then obviously Galadriel's horrible, she's that spouts of who she is, I'm Galadriel, lots of rolled R's. Commander of the Northern Army is dead. And he says it's Halbrand from the Southlands, and that's it. So she demands a boat to go to Middle Earth, and they say, no, you're not getting anything. And then Halbrand steps in, and because she starts getting aggressive again. There's Vinegar Vera, but Halbrand steps in and says, maybe they could, the Queen consort could, and her council could take some time to think about the situation, and they could stay there for a few days until they make their decision. So, a bit of a diplomat there. Anyway, they agree to that, but they're not to leave the palace grounds, so she kicks off again. So we're prisoners then. He says, no, you're guests. So, here we go. Like I say, she's horrible in this episode. She is horrible. And he's come across all friendly, but something happens later on where you think, he's got a dark side to him. That means what the rumours are. I think some of these rumours that have been going around about who people are going to turn out to be completely wrong. But we shall see. Because there was a rumour that Halbrand were going to be the big bad, but I'm not sure if he's going to be. It could be a big bad, but not the big bad. But we will see. There's also a rumour that he might be. Remember Theo, the kid who were, called him mice bastards in the previous episode, and I said he's a bit of an Anakin Skywalker. There's a rumour theory that he might be Theo's dad. So that could explain some things. Anyway, so obviously she's been horrible. He's saying, got to give him time. Got to make the best of the situation. She's not happy because she's never happy until she rides a horse, and then she gets happy and looks like a completely different person. But anyway, so they're talking about elves. Why? What are they doing back? Blah blah blah. Right, so we're out on a boat. It was Elendil that found Galadriel, and now we go to Elendil's son, which is Isildur, and he's training to be a seaman. Don't laugh. So obviously that name, Isildur. We know from the big battle. It was the king, one of the whatever Gondor or whoever it was at the time. I can't remember. In Middle Earth, it was the king, was Isildur, who obviously refused to throw the ring into Mount Doom, and it took him to his doom, didn't it? But, so this is Isildur. I presume it's the same Isildur. Maybe there's common names. I don't know. I mean, isn't Elendil? They say he's someone who looks at stars. That's what his name means. But isn't that the little bottle of light that Galadriel gave to Frodo? Let it be a light. Isn't it Elendil, our brightest star? Isn't that what she calls it? I don't know. So is that bottle of light named after Elendil, or am I remembering it wrong? I'm probably remembering it wrong. Anyway, so they're on this boat, they're training, all these are young trainee sailors. I won't say the seaman word again. I'll call them sailors. And his friend gets, they're doing the rigging, and he gets swept up in the rigging. And Elendil saves him. Not Elendil, Isildur saves him. And then they go back to shore, and go pulling the boats up. And then his sister arrives, so there's a bit of banter. Obviously, they're very fond of each other. Apparently, it's going to be 9 days, by the way. Another 9 days, and they'll pass the trials, and they'll be sailors. Here's his sister with a horse, and he goes up. Here we go. He says, "Oh, you're here, my love," or whatever. And he walks straight past his sister and embraces the horse, which is very amusing. Them two, like a comedy, whatever, they sod off. Right, so we're back in the city. By the way, it's got, I'll go back a bit. Alright, show it. There we go. It's got, the white tree that we see in, in Gondor, in Minas Tirith, the white tree of Gondor. Because apparently, is it Elendil or Isildur? One of them takes a seedling from this tree and takes it to Middle Earth, and so that's where that's come from. This is the Queen Consort. This is Elendil, and she's asking why he saved an elf, and we couldn't just leave him there. Showing a bit of compassion, isn't he? Obviously, he's a good man, but she punishes him. Says, "Well, seeing as you saved him, you're gonna have to saved her. Sorry, you're gonna have to." Watch out for them, make sure they don't get into any trouble. So he's basically got to follow Galadriel round, which he does. I think he makes him like a captain of the guard or something like that. So that's what he can do. Remember, he's a sailor though, isn't he? But there's another character that I quite like. I think we're supposed to like him, but it's played very well. He seems like a good person. I'm not sure about her. She seems a bit fishy, if you ask me. Not because of the scales, but just by her demeanour. There's more going on. Right, so we're going from Numenor. Go back a bit. We we're seeing a map. There's come back a bit more. Whatever. There's Numenor's, the star-shaped island, and then we're going over the Sundering Sea. It's a long way, isn't it? She was going to swim that, was she? Last episode. Look, we haven't even got there yet. Look, there we go. There's Middle-earth, and we arrive in the Southlands. Now, you might recognise some of these. Obviously, there's the Misty Mountains there. Can you see there? Yeah. There's the Misty Mountains. Don't ask me the names of the rivers. I can't remember all the stuff. I just remember the main parts. So that's the Misty Mountains. Is that the Lonely Mountain there? You know, where Smaug is and where Erebor is. I don't know. It could be. But they're calling all this the Southlands. So, keep going. Didn't showing it in this part, I don't think. There's this big body of water here. I'm not sure if that's in modern, not modern, you know what I mean, Middle-earth, Third Age Middle-earth maps. I don't know. Let's have a look. I've got one behind me, haven't I? If I just get rid of that a minute. Oh, there we go. No, there's that over. That's not that though, is it? Because we're in this area here, aren't we? Well, I suppose what would end up become known as Rohan, as you can see there. So in this rough area here, aren't we? Yeah. And there's Mordor. So obviously where that body of water is there, you can't see it, but is roughly where Mordor is by the looks of it. What it looks like to me, anyway. Right, we'll go back to the. There we go. Go back to there. So is this where Mordor's going to be? What's going to happen to that water? Hang on, are we still? There we go. Okay, we'll keep going. I think it's going to cut away just at the, just as we see what's going on. There's a big tree there. I don't know why we're seeing a big, massive tree. Obviously, people that are experts in this sort of thing, I'll know what that signifies, a big, massive tree on the map. But obviously, there's lots of other trees and mountains and hills dotted about. But this body of water, I don't even know what that is. That's me. But anyway, we're going in on the Southlands. There we go. So, here we go. Oh, maybe it signifies this tree. Is this tree important? It's important to the story, sort of. Because Arondir, there he is, and his friends, there's an orc watching them. The orc's in the sunlight, as you can see, and he's not happy, as we'll see in a moment. Look, he covers himself up. Look, the sun, Well, what you stood in it for, you div? There he goes, he hides away. So they're digging away. Obviously, they're doing tunnels and stuff there. They go hide underground. And they find that the way is bad. I was having a chat with his friend. Obviously, they're planning their escape, but they find the way is bad by all these tree roots from that big tree that we just saw. And the orcs tell them to, there we go, tells them to, to chop the tree down. And they say, well, elves don't like chopping trees down, apparently. So they refuse. And this, is it this one or the other one? One of these, I think it's this one with a proper helmet. He makes out that he's nice, makes out that he likes that they're standing up to them, and he offers them water. You've earned a day's water ration, for sticking to your guns, basically. So he gives them the water, and they're all wary. So they drink the water. Anyway, Arondir, he takes a drink, Arondir takes a drink, and Arondir's friend takes a drink. Here's what he's doing that, and then there's the orc slashes his blade, and then we'll see here, I think it's here. There it goes, look. His hands go into his neck, and then, as you can see, there's some sort of bloodless slit on his neck. So they must have sharp blades, most of the orcs here. I always thought the orcs had probably pretty blunt blades, and I wouldn't have thought they were super sharp, but not that sharp to cut somebody like that. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking, it's a it's a 12A certificate, isn't it? They've given it. That's what they're going for. But then there's parts later on that are actually quite bloody, not like gushing, spraying, blood, not like a horror film, but they could have shown a little bit maybe of blood coming out there, but they didn't. So he's had his throat cut. As an example, Arendir grabs him. There we go. And as we can see, we see some blood now on Arendir's hand. In a moment, see Arendir's he's anguished. Come on, show us. Oh, don't then. So there we go. Do as you're told, or another one of you'll die. Basically, Arendir says he'll cut the tree down. So he goes running up. Remember, he's still chained. But they're elves, they're agile. And it also gives him a chance to look around, gets up to the top here, and it gives him a chance to look around, get the bearing for the lay of the land. And as we can see, the trees have all been chopped down. It's a bit barren wasteland. That's it, we see a tree line there, but obviously where they're doing the tunnels and stuff, they've scoured the land, as orcs are wont to do. We see that happening in the Lord of the Rings films, with the Fangorn Forest, don't they? Burn it to the ground and all that, etc. So he's threatening Arendir, to chop the tree down. So that's when he starts doing that. I presume he does. We don't actually see the tree come down, but I presume he chops it down. We see him start, but we don't see the outcome. Anyway, so Galadriel, she sneaks out. Guards are looking for her. She's not in a room anymore. She changed her clothes, by the way, and washed her hair. So she's heading for the quay, docks, harbour, wharf, jetty, thesaurus thing. But Elendil catches up with her, or he just followed her, from the get-go, and he stops her, and he says she's looking at a skiff, which is like a small, it's like between like a a rowing boat and a bigger boat in it. It's a bit probably like a rowing boat, but they've got a sail, haven't they? I think that's a skiff in it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Comments. Anyway, since you won't get far in a skiff, you'll need a bigger boat to get to the Middle Earth, because as we saw on the map, it's a long way, and you were going to swim it. So anyway, apparently he can speak Elvish, and he notes that there's a lot of these statues around Numenor that have Elvish quotes or inscriptions on. And he's saying that not everybody in Numenor is an enemy of the elves, and apparently his name, Elendil, means like he who looks at the stars, but also means elf friend or friend of elves or whatever. And it seems he is a friend of elves because he helps Galadriel. He takes her to a Hall of Law, like a Hall of Records, which is on the western part of the island. So they get some horses. By the way, she's still being horrible to him, by the way. She's, her face is like stony-faced, and she's been, quite belligerent. But then he mentions horses or riding. He mentions riding. It's a day's ride. That's where they have to go, or half a day's ride. They have to go on a horse anyway. And she goes, "Did you mention ride?" So here we go. So they're on the horses. We go. Oh, there we see. Oh, there she is. Look, is that Morfydd Clark? She looks very different there. At first I thought, is that a stunt woman? But I think it is supposed to be Morfydd Clark. Let me say, there's a lot of slow motion in this. It's very slow motion riding. Look, there we go. It's just padding in it, basically. Just padding it out. So she's happy there. So it's the first time we've seen her there. She is. Look there. That's Morfydd Clark. Is that the same person that we saw before? I don't know. But so she's happy there. She's on a horse. Anyway, they end up at, I presume they're going there. That's the Hall of Law or Hall of Records or whatever they're calling it. And right, we cut back to Halbrand. He's at a blacksmith's, and we see this blacksmith, and he's hammering some iron, doing a sword or a spear or whatever. And the Halbrand says, he can work metal. He's good at it. He wants a job. And the blacksmith there says, well, you're not allowed to. You've got to earn. And he shows like he's got like a little badge thing, a crest that shows he's a member of the blacksmiths guild or whatever they call it, iron workers guild, whatever. And I'm trying to find it. Look, there we go. We're going to see it now. He's saying you've got to earn that before you can work with metal on Numenor. Otherwise, you're not allowed to. So I presume that means you've got to go to blacksmithing school. Obviously, he's never been to blacksmithing school. So it's a union. It's a unionised workforce. Right. So he ends up in this outdoor cafe, and he's eating mussels by the look. They look bloody horrible. I'm not a fan of seafood, shellfish anyway. Not mussels anyway. When I was a kid, I used to like cockles, with a bit of vinegar. Eat them with like a little pin. I used to like cockles, but not anymore. I've gone off them. I'm not a big fan of shellfish. But they are in this, aren't they? Last episode, they're eating bloody snails. Now he's eating mussels. Everything in shells. So he's eating them and having a drink. Apparently, he's got plenty of money. I don't know where this money's come from. But these chaps here behind, they're all part of some guild, metalworkers guild, because they've all got the little thingies, little badges. But they start picking on him. There we go. See, he's got that there. Look, that's what I mean. They start picking on him a bit. So obviously Halbrand notices that he's got this, and he befriends them. And he says, drinks next round's on me. I don't know where he's got the money from. Maybe he stole it. Because as we see, he's quite a good thief. There he is, look, being all friendly. So they have some drinks and stuff. And as you can see, let's go back a little bit, because you see here Halbrand being a bit of a pickpocket. There you go. He's got his hand round this chap's. Look, watch his fingers. Look, I'll show you. Where are you? Hand there. There's the little crest thing. Watch his hand. He's going to go over it. Are you ready? Look, he's having a drink. Bit of misdirection. Look, make sure he's looking the wrong way, and puts the drink down. Come on, frame. There you go. It's going on. There we go. And come on, hurry up. And it's gone, look, he's got it, he's stolen it. He's a bloody thief, that's what he is. Anyway, he sets off away, says, I am away now, goodbye, friends, and he walks down an alley. And they've not fallen for it, they all arrive, including this big hulking man, who's also got one of them little, you can't see it, you can just make it out there, who's also a union member. So they decide to kick the crap out of Halbrand, but that's not happening, because he suddenly goes into God mode, and he kicks the crap out of them. You ready? There we go. See, he tries to get away first. They hold him, and give him a couple of punches, but then that sets him off. And there's actually a bit of gruesome bit here that made me cringe a little bit. See, I've missed it, you see. Missed it. There's a bit of CG blood spraying about. Not spraying, but you see like little, spittles of CG blood flying about. That's just, there you go. Bit there. As he punches him. Now, is that just a lucky way I've paused it, or is that a bit of manipulation that they've done to show his true face? Because that looks a bit orcish, doesn't it, really, to me? I didn't plan this, by the way. I've just paused it there. And is that just the way it's paused, or are we seeing... Is that deliberate by them? Probably not. But it does look a bit orcish there, doesn't it? Right. He's kicking off, look. Remember I called Theo Anakin? He's another Anakin, isn't he? There we go. So big headbutt. Poof, there we go. And elbow there, bit of spray of blood there. More kicking the nuts. And then this chap, here we go. Punch in the throat, and here we go. Breaks his arm, and we see the bone. Not sticking out, but under the skin. Another fella gets another spray of CG blood. On the camera this time. Oh, you can't make it out, I'm it way. You ready? But yeah, they're doing like a 12-8. I know it's not like super gory and stuff, and we saw like decapitations and things in Lord of the Rings, but I'm not sure what they're going for. So anyway, there we've got blood there. And he gets the other fella, that, that he stole the thing off, and he smashes his face into the stonework. I don't think he's killed any of them. I think they're just all, pretty well beaten up. And then some guards arrive, they take him away. Right, meanwhile, Galadriel and Elendil are in this hall, and Galadriel's like drawn a sigil. Looks like a letter E from the side. Giving it to one of the scholars there. I call them scholars. Scribes. I'm at it with my thesaurus in again, aren't I? Librarians, etc. Elendil hands it to him and says, we're looking for this. So he goes off and says, I will check. So they do that. So she's looking, she's having a look round. I think this is where he talks to her, tells her about his name, what his name means, and that not everybody hates elves and all that. He might mention here about the king, basically being usurped by the queen consort and her cronies. I think that's here where he mentions that. And that not everybody on Numenor agrees with what's going on. So not his name not only means, elf friend, he actually, is an elf friend. Right, so here we go. Right, so she sees this and she notices that it's actually a map, and there we see that. Of course, you may recognise that from the main map of Middle-earth. It's like a representation of Mordor, or Mordor. I can't do it. It's my mutant face. But Mordor's got that body of water in, hasn't it? I know it's got a name, don't ask me what it is. But that's too small, isn't it, to be the one that we saw, on the world map earlier on. But obviously, I don't know, but it's confusing, isn't it? It is for me, anyway. Yeah, so there we go. So obviously, I don't think it's called Mordor yet. This is still the Southlands. It becomes Mordor, I think, when Sauron takes it and makes it his base. Builds the Tower of Barad-dûr and all that. So that's what she finds, that it's actually a representation of Mordor. So that's there we go. They're seeing it on these old writings. There's the sigil. The representation of Mordor. She says the writing is the Black Speech, which is similar, obviously, to the writing that we see on the Ring of Power. Can you see there? Look, the Ring of Power. But you can't make it out. One ring. I don't think it'll say one ring to rule them all, because they haven't made them yet, have they? So that's that. So she thinks, I've really got to get to Middle-earth now. And I think he's going to help her. Is Elendil. Right, so what's happening here? All right, yeah, we're cut now to, the boringest part of the episode. We're back with the Harfoots, the Hobbits. As I've said before, people say, they're not Hobbits, they're Harfoots. Yeah, the Hobbits are. The Harfoots are a kind of Hobbit. It's like saying, people from Rohan and Gondor and, other places, they're all still men. They're just called something else, aren't they? You know, people of Rohan, people of Gondor, and these are the Harfoots, who are sort of hobbit. Anyway, so they're doing this little. They're getting ready to pack up and move on because they're migratory, and they keep saying, you know, we don't want to leave anybody behind. But here they're doing this ritual about people that have fallen behind. If you fall behind, you get left. That's a bit. It's not very nice, is it? You know, whoever's at the back basically gets picked off by wolves. Apparently, that animal that we saw in the first episode that I said might have been a wag, or warg, or whatever the hell you pronounce it. Apparently, it's just a wolf, because we see a warg in this later on. They're not much like the ones that we saw in the Peter Jackson films. You know, they're similar, but different. 25% different. I don't know. So this is. Don't ask me the names. It's Norrie's father and mother. Is she a stepmother? I don't know, because she mentions he talks about somebody who is lost, and then he meets her afterwards. So is Norrie's mother dead, and she's Norrie's stepmother? Maybe, I don't know. So anyway, they're talking. He's hurt. Remember, he hurt his foot in the previous episode. His ankle, like he twisted his ankle, and it's all swollen. So he can't walk very far. So they're saying that, you know, they'll get left behind, and he says, "Well, no, we'll make sure we're in the front carriage, so they won't get left behind. They'll be at the front. You know, the caravan will go as fast as they go." But it doesn't work out like that, as we see. So we'll skip on a bit. This is Nori. She's wanting to get into Sadok Burrow's tent, whatever the hell, TP, I suppose they have, to see his big book, to see about, you know, this constellation that the stranger wants to find. Poppy is, you know, trying to talk her out of it. But she ends up covering for her. She's a good friend, is Poppy. And we find out that all of Poppy's family is dead. She's alone. So I think Norrie's supposed to be, you know, the closest thing she's got to family, her best friend. So anyway, so she goes in, she starts looking through the book, but then Sadok comes back, so she hides under the desk, and somehow he doesn't notice her, even though she's feeling about, looking for this bit of paper. There's a hand there. She's rummaging about. Poppy's saying, distracting him. And then she gives her, you know, directions. She keeps saying, you know, left. Yes, I've left. We're getting ready to leave, and we've left, and go right, and all that. But she gets the piece of paper that she's looking for, the one with the star signs on. So she gets that, and she takes it to the stranger. Meanwhile, Lenny Henry, Sadok Burrows, is going through the list of the people that they lost on the last migration, or whoever, if they've lost any while they've been there. So they all remember them. People who've been eaten by wolves and killed in landslides and stuff like that. So you'd think they'd be a bit more careful and a bit more, you know, caring with the people who fall behind, you know, in the caravan. You'd think they'd help them catch up, wouldn't you? Rather than, you know, think they'd stick together rather than just let people fall behind. I don't know. Anyway. So this is what's happening here. That's it. This is the boring, basically. Right, so the stranger's got this thing, and he notices these stars, and he says, oh, that's his star map, and he's reading it next to a fire, and I was thinking, it's going to set fire to the buggers, isn't he? And he does. That's what happens. Obviously, you know, this stranger's a bit of an idiot. There we go. Look, I'm thinking, getting too close there, they're going to set on fire. And they do. And he stumbles about, he's trying to put it out, stumbles about, knocks things over, so he gets discovered by the rest of the Harfoot clan. And he actually mentions Norrie's name, because he knocks over something, ends up with all this that netting over him, and he gets up and he's under the net. He's going, oh, and they all get scared. And then he pops his head out, and he says Nori. So obviously they know she's something to do with it. And there we go. That's Nori. And some people have said this is going to be Gandalf, but I've heard other people say it's not going to be Gandalf. It's going to be something else. I don't know. I think if he ended up being Gandalf, a lot of people would be very, very cross. But we'll see. I mean, there were some other wizards, weren't there? We've seen, obviously, there's Saruman, and there's the Sylvester McCoy wizard, Radagast the Brown, and apparently there were two blue wizards who didn't hang around very long. They sodded off to the east, I think to the Eastlands or something, and they were never seen again. So we don't know what happened to the two blue wizards. And obviously there were Gandalf the Grey. Anyway, they get punished. He decides that obviously they won't leave him behind. She says, is it Malva, what her name is? She says, oh, people who break the rules, they get left behind. And he says, no, we're not leaving anybody behind, but their carriage will be at the back of the caravan. So they're basically getting left behind because Nori's dad's ankle's injured, isn't it? So he can't pull, because they don't have beasts of burden, you know. They don't have little horses or little pigs or something they can fasten the carriages to. You'd have thought they'd have done something like that, wouldn't you? But they don't. They've got to pull them themselves. So they're not happy about that, obviously. We're back at in Numenor, and this is Elendil with Isildur and Isildur's sister. I can't remember her name. See if anything rings a bell. Let's have a look. I don't know. By the way, the Queen Regent, not Queen Consort. Queen Regent is Miriel, by the way. Isildur. I don't know how to pronounce it. Iarian. I think it's Iarian, isn't it? E-A with two little dots over it. Not an umlaut. That's something else. I don't know. R-I-E-N. Iarian. That's the name, isn't it? And apparently they have a brother as well. I don't think we see in this episode, but I can't remember the brother's name. But he's mentioned. Anyway, apparently he's decided that I don't think he wants to be a sailor. He's saying he's thinking of skipping the ceremony, where he becomes a sailor and doing it again next year. And so obviously he's not happy about that. Meanwhile, Iarian has been accepted into the Builders Guild. So, yeah, sister, being a builder. Don't see many women in construction, do you? She should be doing bloody needlework, shouldn't she? That's what she should be doing in them days. Tapestries and all that. Tell me I'm wrong. Not building. Anyway, so they're having a bit of a falling out over that. And then while Elendil's distracted by Iarian's being in the accepted by the Builders Guild, Isildur slips away. As you can see there, he's just noticed Isildur's sodded off. There it is. And by the way, there's this puppet show going on. I think that's supposed to be the Queen Regent. There's some sort of elf-like woman. Galadriel with a dagger, saving her from a big monster. So obviously this is some sort of prophecy, prophecy. Anyway, Galadriel goes to see Halbrand's in the cells, obviously after his little skirmish. And so when we find out that she realises that Halbrand's not all he seems, because he's got this necklace with the sigil on. And she says he said he had no king. Remember, a bit like Gondor has no king. He says that he has no king, and she says no, because you are the king. So, but he says, the king of his land or whatever worked for Morgoth was a servant of Morgoth. So, he says, I'm not the hero you want me to be or you think I am. Or worse to that effect. So, as I say, it's another clue that he's going to end up being a baddie. And I think he is. I think he's, playing the nice guy and he's going to end up turning bad. And it could be, a big baddie. Is he going to be Sauron? Spoilers, sorry. Is he going to be Sauron or is he going to be, one of the Witch Kings, that gets the ring? I don't know. Maybe the main Witch King, but in that case, he'd be off north, wouldn't he? Because that was the Witch King of Angmar, wasn't he? Which is in the north, isn't it? Whereas he's from the Southlands. So could he be Sauron? Because, he set up shop in Mordor. And obviously the Southlands is where Mordor is. Anyway, so that's them having their chat. And doing all that. So he's a man with secrets. And as I'm quite liking his character. I'm not liking her. She's bloody awful. But Halbrand is interesting because, he's got some mystery about him. And I was like, mystery box. But it works in this case. Sorry. I was just looking at... I've actually got the news on next to me. And King Charles III arrives in London. So it's just said on the news there. They're following it. Helicopter shot of the... a Rolls Royce and a motorcade arriving in London. Hey, historic times we're living in. It's sad that the Queen's passed away. There's a big sign there with a picture of Queen Elizabeth on. Anyway, so yeah, he's gonna do his first address to the nation and the Commonwealth, I suppose, as the head of state today. Very sombre. Anyway, where were we? Right, back to Rings of Power. As I said, yes, Halbrand's interesting because he's a mystery man, isn't he? So there we go. That's the Queen, Queen Regent Miriel. I can't actually remember this bit. Did I look away and miss this part? I can't remember what's going on there, but never mind. It's probably not important. She's looking at something. Much like the dwarves were looking at something, remember in the last episode, and they said, they're looking at the Arkenstone. Maybe she's got something similar. I don't know. I can't remember that part. I watched it this morning, and so maybe I got distracted. Anyway, here's the Harfoots. Hobbits. They're on the move, as you can see. Looks like a field there, but if you're actually watching it, there you go. It's all moving, look. So that's very cool, isn't it? But obviously, there you go. They're falling behind. He can't carry on. He's trying his best, bless him. But, his ankle's giving him jip. So he's got to stop. So they all have a minute. Poppy slows down for him. And, she tells him, no, don't stop. You'll fall behind too. But, she does because she's a friend. But then the stranger rears his head. There we go. And he goes, friend, so he says. It's like Frankenstein's monster, isn't it? So he helps them catch up. So, because obviously he's a giant to them, so he can pull or push their caravan thing to help them keep up with the group. Right. Meanwhile, back in the Southlands, the elves and the townspeople decide to rebel, so they put all the chains here. They're going to start whacking them with their choppers and swords. So there's a bit of a rebellion going on here, and all the orcs are pulling on the chains to stop them. Here we go. I must admit, I do like the orc makeup in this. It's very effective. And very similar to what we saw in the Peter Jackson films, just saying. I think it's going to change in season 2. It's going to move away from the Peter Jackson, feel in season 2. Because remember, this was filmed in New Zealand. Season 1 was filmed in New Zealand, and I think the effects, a lot of the effects and stuff were maybe done, maybe not by Weta, but people that had worked on, the Peter Jackson films and the designers and stuff. So I think that's why it's very similar. But they're now up sticks, aren't they? Because of COVID and New Zealand's COVID regulations, the up sticks moved to London, didn't they? Which were another reason why the budget for the series, went through the roof. Anyway, so where were we? So they're trying to break the chains. Great song by Dokken, by the way. Break the chains, or breaking the chains. Here we go. It's the wag. They get the wag out. Don't like its eyes. Its eyes look a bit stupid, to be honest. They don't look, nasty. It looks more like a little. It's like a pug or a bulldog, with massive teeth and a bad attitude, obviously. But the eyes don't look. They don't look right, do they? The eyes. You see when you see them moving. Look. They don't look right. State. So they set the wag on them. But R&D has got his chain wrapped around it, stopping it. He sends his friend. I can't remember his friend's name. The one that was the leader of the watchtower. He tells him to get out. So he heads up the thingy to escape. Head for the tree line basically. There we go. So he gets up. Look, as R&D takes care of the wag, but he doesn't get very far because there's already orcs up there. There we go. Turns round, look, and he's got an arrow in him, as you can see, look. And as we watch, another couple of arrows hit him, which is quite brutal. So anyway, they drag him back down. Look, they drag R&D back down. He's not having a good day, is he? So Adar's coming. So here we go. So here's Adar. Yeah, Adar. Not Adar. He's on his way. So he comes out. Apparently this is... I can't remember who he's played by. Does it say? Apparently we're in Game of Thrones. Joseph Maul. He played Uncle... I can't remember his name. Uncle Benji. One of the Starks in Game of Thrones. So that's who's playing Adar, this corrupted elf. We don't see him. We can see him from behind there. And he's got some sort of gauntlet on with sharp claws on. I don't think that's his own fingernails. Or it could be, I don't know. So he's making his way forward. I've gone too far now. Look. There we go. And that's, there is it. We don't actually see him. It doesn't focus on him because it ends there, just walking into shot. It's all blurry. But obviously, you can see pointed ear there. Corrupted elf, so he's obviously got an evil face. Is that what we saw with, remember when I paused Halbrand earlier on? Is this the same sort of thing we're seeing? But that's how the episode ends. So there we go. So that's it. We're done. The end of that episode. You don't get a next week, do you? No, you don't. Right. So that's it. Yes, there we go. It was okay. Another, not as good as the previous two episodes, I don't think. It's very slow, isn't it? A lot of world building. Obviously, we're learning about Numenor. But but I can't say I hate it. There's people saying they hate it, but I can't say I hate it because I'm quite enjoying watching it, even though it's a bit slow, and I hate Galadriel. Look, I'll show her again. There. As I've called, started calling her Vinegar Vera. I hate her. She's horrible. She's a horrible character. Can't do with her. But the other characters I'm quite liking. I like Halbrand because I'm interested in what's going to happen with him. I want to see how he, is he deceiving everybody? I like Elendil. He seems like a good, forthright, stalwart character. He's going to be a good guy, isn't he? I like Arondir. He's the one that's holding this series together for me. He is the main character. Never mind Galadriel. Arondir is the main character for me. The Harfoots, I can give or take. I found that the most boring part of this episode. The stranger's doing me head in. Just tell us who he is. Just tell us who he is. Give us more clues, at least. But anyway, so I'd give this one a 6 out of 10. The first episode I give a 7. second episode I give an 8. This one I'm going to give a 6. So it's not quite as good. I didn't like the wag. I liked the scene. That was quite exciting. And I liked, what's his name? Halbrand's fight in the alley. I liked that. That was a good, well-staged fight scene. But I like the fight with the wag. Wog. What do you pronounce it? I can't remember. I'm going to say wag. I like the fight with the wag. That was exciting. And, the poor chap that got... the arrows, reminiscent of Boromir in Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. But yeah, so 6 out of 10. I still want to see more. I haven't been put off, even though this episode's not as good. I still want to see more. Looking forward to episode 4 next week. I'm not hating it. I'm not loving it either. But, I do want to carry on watching it. So there. I think House of the Dragon is better. I think it's a lot better. But this is still interesting enough for me to carry on watching. So why aren't I doing big, long reviews of House of the Dragon? I'm just doing quick reviews of those, aren't I? In my shorts. I don't know. It's just the way it's turned out. Anyway, so we'll leave it there. So wherever you are in Middle-earth, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see thee. There you go.